Hello, my name is Ariel Lynch, and thank you for joining me today for a webinar on utilizing the Chargeback Import Sheet for adjustments. Together, we will explore how this vital tool can streamline your chargeback process and enhance efficiency in your adjustments workflow. Chargebacks can be complex, but with the right approach, you can simplify your management and reduce errors. We will cover key features of the Chargeback Import Sheet, provide a step-by-step guide on how to fill it out correctly, and share best practices to help you avoid common errors. Whether you're new to chargebacks or looking to enhance your current methods, this refresher course is designed for you. When you have multiple adjustments or deductions, there's an alternative way to enter them into the chargeback database. The Chargeback Import Sheet is an Excel template that allows you to enter multiple adjustments into the chargeback database at one time. It is often used when there are several balances that need to be removed from the customer's aging. The chargeback import sheet will have a column for each field you see in the chargeback database. So let's dive in and check it out. The chargeback import sheet follows the same flow as the form in the chargeback database. So you start off by entering your collector code, followed with your pro information. So that would be your agent code and the 6-digit pro number. If this was an accessorial invoice, you would include information for the suffix code. So you would be saying whether this was a chassis, per diem, or an M&R invoice. Next, you would enter in your customer's bill to code, followed with the rate date. You can also plug in the invoice amount, balance due. We always want to make sure we're using a chargeback code. Even for our import sheets, the chargeback codes still need to be listed and always provide a detailed reason. So as you can see, as you're working through this Excel sheet, it is following the flow of the information needed if you were entering it in manually into the chargeback database. So now that we have our pro information completed, our next columns are going to ask about our deduction types. So it is the same information here. You would enter who you're deducting, provide the code for that, and the deduction amount. Just like in the chargeback database where you're able to deduct up to 3 different types, you can do the same thing here on your chargeback import sheet. If you only have one type, just like in the chargeback database, you just leave the rest of these blank. If you have to deduct some more parties, you would enter their information in the following columns. So once you have your deduction types entered and your amounts, we come down to the bottom of what would be the chargeback form, and we would complete our deduction dates, which would be 2 Mondays out from our entry day, which is our adjustment date. We give our adjustment amount. That's the amount we want removed from the invoice. You complete your instructions to the cash team. And in this last box, you would enter yes. For adjustment entered, this is the same things as you checking that box in the chargeback data form. And we all know that your adjustments will still go through if you don't check that box in the chargeback database. It's the same thing for this import sheet. If you don't put the yes there, it still will go through. But best practices are just go ahead and type yes. Where do we get the data that's needed for this chargeback import sheet? Majority of the data needed to complete the chargeback import sheet can be copied directly from your customer's agent right onto the import sheet. That data would include your customer's bill to code, the pro number, the rate date, revenue, and balance due. You must manually enter information in columns I through X if you have not listed that information on your customer's account statement. That information would include your chargeback codes and reasons, your deduction types, dates, and amounts, and your instructions to the cash team. So whereas we're copying, pasting information for A through H right onto our import sheet, you will have to manually enter in the rest of these details when you're working on columns I through X. And I know you may be looking at the example and you're saying, you keep saying I through X, but I only see I through R. So for training purposes, I wanted to get this entire sheet onto this screen, and I didn't have a deduction type 2 or 3, so I just removed those columns. So that's why it's stopping at I through R on this example, but on your chargeback template, you will see columns I through X. So that was your step-by-step guide on how to complete the chargeback import sheet. I hope I didn't leave anything out and you don't have any questions. I'll see you guys next time. Pause for dramatic effect. Just kidding, guys. We will walk through this process together step by step so you can learn how to effectively fill out the import sheet, including essential fields and data requirements. Stay right there. So to get started, we are going to go to SharePoint so we can download a copy of the Chargeback Import template. So once you're on SharePoint, we want to scroll down to the Collections Training folder. Once you're in that folder, you want to click on Adjustments. Once you're in Adjustments, you will find a Excel template called CB Import template and go ahead and download that. I would recommend that you keep a blank copy saved on your desktop. That way you don't have to come here and download this form every time you're getting ready to do a chargeback import. So once the chargeback import downloads, you want to go ahead and click Enable Editing because, of course, we need to be able to edit. So just make sure you click that. And now, as you can see, this is our full complete chargeback import template. We have our columns A through X, like I explained before, because we didn't have to hide those other categories. They always will be there. So now we have our customer statement pulled up. We want to go ahead and start inputting information from our customer statement onto this blank chargeback template. So in this case, we are using our chargeback import because we have a lot of short paid balances on this statement that we need to clear, and nobody has time to sit and do them one at a time. So we're going to use our import sheet. That way we can get it all done quick and easy. So we're going to start off by separating our agent code from our pro number. So we will insert a new column in between B and D. We're going to select column B and then go to the top and click Data. From Data, go to the right and click Text to Columns. We are going to choose our second option, which is Fixed Width, and click Next. After that, you want to click in this box, and we're going to drag that line between the agent code and those pro numbers. So we're telling the system we want to separate that information and then click Finish. It'll ask if you want to replace the data, say OK for yes. And now you can see that we have split the pro number information. So we have our column for our agent code and a column for the pro numbers. So we're going to copy our agent codes, and then we are going back to our import sheet, and we will right click and paste values only. Again, make sure each time you're pasting in, you are only pasting the values only. We do not want to change any of the formats on that import sheet. So each time you're inputting your data, make sure you're selecting paste values only. And as I'm copying information from the sheet, I'm using a keyboard shortcut. So when I click into a column, I'm holding down the Shift and Control key and then pressing the down arrow. That way I can quickly copy everything that's listed without having to hold down the mouse and scroll. So again, I was using a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut that's hold the Shift key, the Control key, and press the down arrow. So I'm going to continue to input this information. needed from our customer statement onto this chargeback import sheet. Just like we stated before, most of your information from A through H can be found on your customer statement. So we have all of our first information listed. Next, we want to move on to our chargeback codes and reasons. So fortunately for this statement, the reason for these adjustments is listed in the AR comments. So we can just easily copy this information and paste it right into the reason for our adjustments because it is very detailed. We have our note that says fuel rated incorrectly, okay to deduct the truck per agent. So we want to make sure we're using our chargeback codes and we want to make sure we're using the appropriate code. So our reason says rated incorrectly, we're going to use RI, and then we're going to make sure we copy that information all the way down as well because they all have the same chargeback code. So now that we skipped the suffix code because none of these were A bills, so we didn't have to put any information there. So now that we've gotten to our reason, we will move on next to our deduction types. Our reason already says okay to deduct the truck, so we're going to enter truck and we're going to drag that information all the way down because all of these will be truck deductions per the reason field. To save some time, I already went ahead and looked up the truck numbers for each of these moves because I didn't want you guys to have to sit here as I checked the agent portal or EBH to figure out the truck numbers. So I put that information onto the statement so I can grab it quickly and plug it on in. So whichever works for you, if you want to do them one at a time or you want to get all that information prior to doing your import, that's up to you. But I would say do it prior, save yourself some time so you can just copy and paste it in. Next, we're entering in our deduction amounts. In this case, fuel was paid out at 100%. So the trucks will be deducted 100% of the balance due. So we were able to copy that information and paste it into our deduction amounts. There wasn't a lot of math we had to do there. We don't have any other parties to deduct, so these sections will be left blank, and we'll move on to filling out the remaining information. So our adjustment date is the day that we are making this entry, which was 4/10. Our deduction date is 2 Mondays out from that week, so that was April 21st. Next, we will enter in our adjustment and amount. So our adjustment amount will be our balance due because we want this information, this amount of money to be removed from the statement. So that's what we're plugging in so the cash team knows to cancel the balance. And that's what our instructions will say here, cancel balance. And then in our last column X, we'll enter yes because yes, this adjustment has been entered. But like I said before, you can leave this blank. And then we're just going to make sure we're selecting all of that and dragging it down to the rest of these to complete our sheet because we don't want to leave out any blanks because if we don't have instructions for all of them, the cash team won't know what to do. And then we're going to also copy and paste our deduction dates and adjustment date because all of these can be done on the same day. And we're going to go ahead and fill that information in. So now we have completed our columns A through X. Then, well, not A yet because we have to put in our collector code. So make sure you remember to do your collector code. So then once you have your collector code, you've completed all your columns needed for this import sheet. As you're looking at the sheet, you probably see some weird discrepancies. You're probably thinking, hey, something in column C, the pro numbers isn't lining up. So we can see between row 11 and 12, the information doesn't appear the same. Something seems off. We have dates from 11 and above, but then after that, we just got these weird numbers. So like I said, everything on this sheet is already pre-formatted. As you're moving through each column, you can see the formats listed at the top. And we can see here we have a date format, but somehow on these other rows, that format is not there anymore. But this is not a horrible thing. It's an easy, quick fix. We can easily get that formula copied and applied to the rest of this sheet. So we're going to highlight the row that has the formula. We're going to right click and copy. Next, we're going to select every row that we need that formula applied to. Then we're going to right click and we're going to paste formatting. So what this does is leaves the information that we need, but it'll paste that format. So now you can see now we have that date format in our column F. Our pro numbers are lining up. None of the information changed. All we did was add that formula. Because if that formula is not listed on this sheet, you will not be able to import it. So make sure you're always pasting values only and make sure that your sheet is completely formatted. Once you have done that, you want to go ahead and save your import sheet because now we have confirmed that this is complete. So you always want to make sure you have access to your completed chargeback import sheet on the same desktop as your chargeback access program. So in my case, it's on the remote desktop. So I will copy and paste that template to the remote desktop. So once you have opened up the chargeback database, we're going to come over to import chargeback data. You'll be prompted to get the file. So now I'm going to pull the file from my desktop and click OK. And it doesn't take long. As you can see, it says import successful. Please review data. And you're complete. If that import was unsuccessful, you would have got a notification. It wouldn't just say it went through. It will let you know it was unsuccessful. A lot of times it will provide a reason, not like particularly like, hey, you did this or did that, but it will let you know that it was unsuccessful. It'll tell you how many entries or line items where there might have been a mistake, and it'll allow you an opportunity to re-upload it. If there's any errors on that sheet, it will not import until you correct them. Come along as we identify pitfalls that can lead to complications in processing your chargeback import sheet and how to steer clear of them. Removing or changing formats on the chargeback import sheet is a common error that is made but can be easily avoided. There are certain columns on the chargeback import sheet that are pre-formatted. Changing or removing those formats will cause an unsuccessful import. When inputting data into your chargeback import sheet, always make sure you are pasting values only. So when you right click, you want to select the paste values only icon you see displayed below. Doing so will make sure you are not removing or changing those pre-formatted columns. When you are copying a format to unformatted rows, always make sure you're only putting that format where you have data. If you paste that format to rows without any data, you will create blank rows on your chargeback import sheet. And there's one thing that the chargeback database does not like are blank rows. Having blank rows will create key violations because they're going to expect information to be in those rows. So we're going to save this and import it so you can see what that error message will look like if you may have blank rows on your import sheet. So we're going to get the file just the same way. Select your file and click OK, and we wait. So here we didn't get the import successful note. We got a record violation note. It says there were 2 records that were lost due to key violations. Do you want to upload? We're going to say no. Once you say no, it's going to prompt you to review your spreadsheet, make some corrections, and then try to re-upload it. So we're going to minimize this screen so we can pull up that chargeback to see where we have errors. So as we're reviewing, we're looking at each of our columns and we don't see any error codes. We know there were 2 records that had violations. To try to weed those out, we're going to press down Control and End. So that's the Control and End key. And it brings us to the end of this spreadsheet. And as you can see here, there's 2 blank rows with no information. So what we're going to do is highlight them. We're going to navigate to the top of the page, select Delete Sheet Rows. So we're going to delete that format and that information. We're telling this chargeback nothing's here. We don't need that. And we removed it and we're saving. Now that we deleted those 2 blank rows, we're going to try our upload again to see if it will be successful. So select your file, click OK, and we wait. And boom, here it is, import successful. So keep in mind that any column that has a format listed in there, that chargeback system will expect data to be there. So always make sure when you're done inputting information on your chargeback import sheet, right before you save, it just takes a couple seconds, go ahead and hit your control and hold down the END key at the same time. So the chargeback database will take you to that last entry. And if there's no information there, you got a lot of blanks, just go ahead and delete those rows so you won't have any errors when you're trying to upload your sheet. So keep in mind, blank rows is one of the common reasons why your import will be unsuccessful. Next up, suffix codes. Of course, you can add accessorial invoices to the chargeback import sheet. Just keep the following in mind. First, be sure to include the suffix letter in the pro number column. Failure to do so will result in the adjustment to the wrong invoice. So if you are making an adjustment to the A bill, you must put that A after the pro number, or you will end up making an adjustment to that freight invoice. Second, unlike the chargeback form, you will not be prompted to select the suffix code. So make sure you are entering in a suffix code in the correct suffix code in that column on your import sheet. So if it's for chassis, you want to make sure it says chassis in that column. If not, the import will not be successful. You will not be able to make an adjustment to that A bill if you're missing the A in the pro number or if you're missing that chassis as your suffix code type. So make sure you are keying it in correctly. There's no abbreviations. It should appear just as it does on the chargeback form when you're manually entering it into the system. You have to spell out per diem. You have to spell out chassis. You can't put abbreviations here because it doesn't know what it is. So make sure you're completing that information so your chargeback is going through. Dragging adjustment dates is a common error that can be made on an import sheet if you're moving too quickly. Dragging dates means you came to that right hand corner and you clicked and you dragged down. And as you can see, it auto filled and the dates continued to go up. This is easy to fix. If you have made this mistake, you can click that information, then click on that small black box and change to copy sales. Now we have inputted the correct date for these adjustments. We also could do it another way. Once you have your first date typed, you can type in your second date again. You can come down to that second row and you can hold down your control shift and hit your down arrow key and it will copy and paste all the information to all your rows on your import sheet. So you always want to make sure you have the correct dates listed because if we would have kept those dates that were ascending, we wouldn't have seen those adjustments until those dates came. And if it was a day on the weekend, you would never see it because Laura is never pulling dates for the weekend. So this could be a reason why you could upload that sheet. It will upload successful with those dates. But when you pull that statement in the next couple of days, those other adjustments that were for May or further down in April won't appear because they won't get done until that calendar day actually happens. So if there's any a time where you did some adjustments and you're just 100% sure you did it and you're wondering why it's still on your statement a week later, come and check your dates. It's possible that you put the wrong date on your adjustment. It's also really common to make errors in your adjustment date when the new year begins. Your brain is still in a fog and you might be putting in 2024 when it's 2025. And those adjustments also will not get pulled. So always make sure you're double checking your dates and your dates for your adjustment reflect the date that you're entering them. Discover tips to enhance accuracy and efficiency in your chargeback import process. First up, A bill adjustments. Oh, don't we just love these? Even when entered properly, the chargeback database has a hard time importing the mix of freight invoices and A bills, and will often leave out the adjustments for A bills. To ensure a successful import, use a separate chargeback import sheet for A bill adjustments, as you see here below. So if anytime you're working on an account and they have a big mix that you're trying to get off and it's invoices, freight invoices, and some A bills, just create a separate sheet for the A bills because I don't know what it is that you can have 100 invoices on there and then just one A bill. All 99 will import, but that A bill will not. So instead of having to go through and figure out if it went through or not, just upload them separately. When they're uploaded separately and entered correctly, you shall have a successful import. It's very important that you review your adjustments that you have imported in the chargeback system, especially when you're new to the process. Doing so will allow you to find any mistakes or missing adjustments in enough time to correct them before they're pulled by management. Once you log into the chargeback database, you want to go ahead and select Modify Deduction. Once you select Modify Deduction, click Search by Pro Number. You enter in the Pro number and select OK. You will then be taken to the screen where your adjustment is and you can make any corrections or verify that it was uploaded. But since we did a large import, we don't want to do those one by one. So what we're going to do is do an export report. Select collector report and enter in your collector code. After your collector code, you'll be prompted to enter then the date that you want to pull. We did this on 410, so that's the date that we want to use. For some reason, sometimes it makes you enter that information twice. So I'm re-entering, selecting OK, and waiting for our report to download. Depending on the size, it could take some time. So now we have a full report for every single adjustment entered under that collector code for this date. So it's going to show a combination of things that could have been imported and manually entered. So you're going to get every adjustment entered on that date that you typed. So if we want to verify that our import was successful, we're going to select everything we imported and we can see that it is 53 items that were imported on that sheet. We're going to go back to our chargeback import template and compare those numbers. And on that sheet, we're going to highlight and scroll down just so we can get a count and we can see here 53 items. So we can confirm that everything we entered on that chargeback import template was successfully imported into the chargeback system per this report. If we notice something was missing, we would be able to go in and re-upload that missing invoice. We don't want to import the whole thing because then we'll create duplicate entries. But this allows you a chance to see if something got kicked out, if there were some changes that you needed to make, or maybe you just want to keep a record that everything was successful. But each time, especially in your beginning, I highly recommend that you are downloading this export report so you can know if everything uploaded successfully. Because even though we got that note that it did, we just want to double check and make sure everything is correct. And this report allows you that opportunity. Once you have imported your chargeback import sheet, you want to make sure that you are saving that information. So on your Evans remote desktop, select computer, then go to collection shared, which is the J drive. You want to open the collector chargeback folder, scroll until you find your name, and then add in your chargeback import. So each time you are using the chargeback import sheet, you want to make sure you are saving those imports in your collector file on the J drive. Thank you for taking the time to watch this refresher course on chargeback imports. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm available by Teams, phone, or you can stop by my desk, whichever works for you. Also, please be sure to click the link in the description to take the quiz. Again, thank you for watching and have a great day.